On June 15, 2026, two strategic bombers crashed in two very different places on the planet. One was American, one was Russian. And together, they told a story far bigger than either accident alone. The quiet collapse of Cold War air power under the weight of age, maintenance, and war. In the United States, a B-52H Stratofortress went down shortly after takeoff at Edwards Air Force Base, killing 8 people. In Russia, a Tu-25 M3 Backfire crashed during a flight in Siberia, though the crew managed to eject in time. Same day, same class of aircraft, very different outcomes. But both incidents reveal the same uncomfortable truth. The world's great bomber fleets are being tested, not just by enemies, but by time itself. The American crash was especially devastating because this was no ordinary B-52. It was a highly modified test aircraft assigned to the B-52 modernization effort at Edwards, the kind of jet that carries the future of a whole program on its back. Edwards is where the Air Force proves whether old aircraft can still be made relevant for new wars. That makes every test plane precious and every accident a major setback. The B-52 itself is one of the longest-serving warplanes in history. First introduced in the 1950s, it has outlived generations of fighters, bombers, and even military doctrines. Yet it still matters, because it brings range, payload, and flexibility that few aircraft can match. It can launch cruise missiles, carry conventional bombs, and remain a central piece of American deterrence. But keeping a 70-year-old aircraft flying into the future is not a simple matter of pride. It is a massive engineering gamble. That gamble has a cost. The Air Force is spending billions to modernize the fleet with new radar, new engines, and new systems meant to keep the B-52 viable into the 2050s. But modernization only works if the test program keeps moving. And that depends on rare aircraft, rare crews, and rare expertise. When a test plane is lost, the damage is bigger than the wreckage on the runway. It disrupts schedules, slows certification work, and forces the entire program to regroup. At Edwards, that burden hits especially hard. The 412th Test Wing and the 419th Flight Test Squadron are not large organizations, but they are strategically critical. Their job is to prove that systems work before they are sent to the fleet. That makes them the gatekeepers of American bomber modernization. When a loss happens there, the ripple effects spread far beyond one runway in the desert. Now, turn to Russia, where the story is even more dramatic in one crucial sense. There is no serious replacement pipeline waiting behind the Tu-22 M3. This is far from an isolated incident. In less than 2 years, 3 separate Tu-22 M3 bombers have crashed in the same broad Siberian region, and that alone tells you something is deeply wrong. In August 2024, a crash in the Cheremkovsky district killed a pilot. In April 2025, another accident in the Usolsky district brought more casualties. Each time, the explanation pointed back to technical malfunction, not combat damage. That means the problem is not one dramatic failure. It is a pattern. And mechanical fatigue is only half the story. The Backfire fleet has also been hammered by Ukraine. During Operation Spiderweb in June 2025, Ukrainian drones reportedly struck multiple Russian air bases in a highly coordinated attack, damaging or destroying as many as 12 Tu-22 M3 bombers. Add in earlier attacks, including the S-200 strike over Stavropol in 2024, and the picture becomes brutally clear. Russia's long-range bomber force is not just old, it is under siege. The numbers are grim. In 2022, Russia officially had more than 50 Tu-22M3 bombers on paper, but Ukrainian intelligence estimated that only about 34 were actually combat-ready. Since then, losses from crashes, strikes, and cannibalization for spare parts have continued to shrink the force. Western analysts now estimate that Russia may have as few as 8 to 10 fully airworthy backfires left. If that estimate is accurate, Moscow has lost more than 70% of its operational Tu-22M3 fleet since the start of the war. That is a staggering figure, especially for an aircraft Russia still relies on for long-range strike missions. The Tu-22M3 was once a symbol of Soviet reach, fast, heavy, and dangerous. But production stopped decades ago, and the modernization effort has moved painfully slowly. Even the engines are no longer being made in quantity. That means every breakdown matters. Every damaged aircraft becomes a parts donor, and every accident pushes the fleet closer to irrelevance. The comparison with the B-52 is revealing. The American bomber is ancient too, but is supported by a vast industrial base that is still investing in its survival. New engines are coming. New radar is coming. The airframe may be old, but the system around it is alive. Russia's Backfire, by contrast, is being asked to survive in a world that no longer supports it. That is a very different kind of vulnerability. So what do these two crashes really tell us? They show that strategic bombers are not immortal symbols of power. They are machines that must be maintained, modernized, and funded at a staggering level if they are to remain useful. The United States is trying to extend the life of a legacy bomber through industry, upgrades, and testing. Russia is trying to keep an aging force airborne while losing aircraft to both wear and war. One side is paying to preserve relevance. The other is paying simply to stay in the air. And that is the hidden significance of June 15th. Two bombers came down. Two superpowers were reminded that old air power is only as strong as the system that keeps it flying. Once that system starts to crack, the sky gets a lot smaller.